Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Weruche Opia, who plays Coretta Scott King in National Geographic's Genius MLK. I mean, there are true stories, and then there are icons of the highest magnitude in American history. And I'm not only including MLK and Malcolm X in that, but their wives as well. Talk about stepping into some overwhelming shoes as Coretta and how you even prepare to step into that.
Yeah, like you said, overwhelming shoes, shoes that never will be filled because the owners of the shoes filled them, obviously. It was a mix of emotions, a lot of excitement, but also a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. I mean, the stakes are really high, the responsibility overwhelming, to try and do, a modern century justice to the stories of these incredible people that we're still benefiting now from the things that they did and, the fights that they fought back then. So huge shoes to fill, but a lot of research, a lot of time, a lot of reverence, a lot of respect went into it. Um, and just, reminding myself that I had to give it my best. I mean, most of my roles have been people who have just been fictional characters. So this is my first real life person to play. And I was like, great, Coretta Scott King. Let's just go. But it was such an enjoyable experience, a very heavy one as well to some extent. When you start to read about all the things Coretta went through and Mal and Martin and Malcolm and Betty. And so huge shoes to fill. I hope I filled some of it and did, some justice to the stories of these great people.
I think you did. And had you seen the Genius anthology before? I mean, it's a great way of sort of extending these people's stories. And I feel like this is like the best way to tell a biopic at this point is through a series. Not everyone's lives can be told in 2 hours. How
Yeah.
familiar were you with the series or were you previous to this?
I didn't know. I'd heard about it. I mean, definitely knew about the Aretha one.
Yep.
I hadn't watched all of them, and so I did go back and do my research. But yeah, I think it's a great way to give you like a visual representation rather than reading about them, I guess. And when you've got incredible teams behind it, who've done the research and put it together, and yeah, I think Genius does a great job at going into the stories of these people without making it history lesson-ish, but actually quite visual and lets you feel like you're actually there watching them go through what they go through.
There's so much about Coretta I didn't know. I didn't even know she was a singer. I mean,
Nice
to be honest.
guy.
What was this a history lesson for you as much as a role that you were stepping into, particularly as a British Nigerian actress? I mean, what sort of civil rights movement history were you learning in the UK? Because I don't even think it's that widely taught that well in America, to be honest.
I'll speak from my experience because I know some people may have had their education at home, but in terms of the education system in the UK, there's just like a light mention. So I honestly, I mean, unless I lived under a rock, I knew who they all were. I knew what they'd done, but a lot of general knowledge. And so having the opportunity to play Coretta gave me the best history lesson ever, the most in-depth one as well. And so it was a complete education for me, apart from what I had seen generally or heard generally just in life. But yeah, it's not something taught here. I mean, we have Black history in the UK that's not taught either, if I'm honest. And so this, for me especially, I think was like an opportunity and for me to educate myself and to feel like I'm uh part of the people re-educating a new or educating a new generation. So more people will get to know about hopefully Coretta and Martin and Malcolm and Betty through this process as I've got to learn about them as well.
Yeah, I feel like when I was in high school, it was like there was segregation, there's the I have a dream speech, there's the assassination. That I
Yeah.
mean, and there it ends. This show does such a great job of showing them as people and their home life. I love the beginning where he's such a smooth talker and he's talking to Coretta and she is like, better get yourself together. Um,
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when in those early moments in them getting to know each other that I thought was really fun to see?
I absolutely loved it. I mean, again, like we see the highlights of them. We know that I Have a Dream speech, the assassination, there is not the much in between. And I think it's when you begin to learn about the in between, then you begin to see them as humans. There were just human beings who were so dedicated to a cause that, I mean, they gave their lives for it. And they made such an impact on humanity that, again, we're now still reaping the benefits of that now. So I think the most enjoyable part was just getting to play and imagine what they were like. I've previously said that it's one of the greatest love stories for me, for Martin and Coretta, because it's just so beautiful the way they came around and, just being so equally yoked, the both of them. They both understood their purpose and it meshed. And honestly, it's just so gorgeous. And I'm like, yo, where's that love? Where that? Because we need some of that Martin and Coretta love these days, okay?
I also didn't realize, I mean, you don't think about it at the time. They were so young, and I
Mhm.
hadn't realized sort of the influence that Martin's father had over him, and that he didn't really like Coretta when they met. That dinner table scene I thought was very powerful because not only the way that you verbally expressed yourself, but your face. I mean, you were giving face. They say the best acting is in the face, and you were giving face throughout the series. Those were that was one of my favorite parts. But what was that scene like? What did you have to tap into to get those feelings riled up?
Ooh, we found out actually, reading Coretta's biography that actually did happen. And because Daddy King would make that joke over and over again, saying oh, I've got something to offer as well, because those were her words at the dinner table when they first met. And at first I struggled a bit because I was like, I don't think she would even try to prove herself. I think she'd be like, sir, I'm done, and just, leave. But when I found that out, I was like, okay, we've got to incorporate that, because at the end of the day, she was still, respectful, and I keep on calling she's Southern Belle. And so I think she would have had to keep her poise, even though I'm sure she wanted to flip the table. But you don't do that the first time you meet your boyfriend's parents. You've got to like hold it down. And that's again another relatable moment where I'm just like, I'm sure she was absolutely boiling inside. But she held it together and she was a lady and she said, listen, I'm gonna say what I need to say and leave. And so it was just a lot of a lot of poise, I would say, because Coretta and me were not the same. I mean, I would be polite as well, but I don't know if I'd have the strength to like keep just a cute face on if that was happening to me.
She did make it clear though. She's like, I don't want to be a servant. Like, I'm not just going to be sitting around being your wife. She's not like a wilting flower.
No.
Talk about the respect she was able to command from Martin and why she was able to have the influence on him that she was, because she herself was an organizer. There's so much that we learn about her and y- you know her own accomplishments throughout this story.
Yeah. I think part of the reason Martin fell for her was because she was not like many women he knew. She was very convinced in what she was doing. She was an organizer, she was an activist, she was very anti-war before she met Martin. So she was very, very educated, and he was impressed and taken with her because we know that Martin was a sought after man back then. And so I think he might have been attracted to the fact that she wasn't quite impressed with him, because we know that she didn't expect him to be not as vertically challenged as he was. So I guess her making those little digs, he was kind of like, okay, I gotta step my game up a little bit. But I think they both respected each other in terms of their causes, their faith, both wanting to make an impact on the world, and just the fact that they had the similar route to make their impact. I think that is what got them together. But I think they were both enamored, impressed, and like-minded people, really.
And we get to see an arc of a story and emotion. That had to be fun as an actress to be able to sort of go through this arc with her. We see even when the wedding night, they have to sleep in a funeral home and they laugh about it. I mean, after being turned down by hotels in a like a horrific situation, they find some sort of humor about the whole situation.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that just says, because I personally think they were best friends as well. And I mean, in that kind of situation, you would have to laugh about it. And, being completely comfortable with someone and they just being together, I think, which is the most beautiful part about it. Definitely, I think they were best friends. And so they just were able to hold each other down, really, I think.
There's this great episode, Matriarchy, that dives deeper into Coretta and Betty's stories and the parallels and differences that they went through in their lives. What were your favorite moments to play, and what do you appreciate most about the stories of both of these women?
Ooh, what my favorite moments in the episode 5?
Or
Or just
in general, throughout the series, what was your favorite episode or scene that you had?
think the wedding scene was one of my favorite scenes because I've actually I've worn a wedding dress about 5 times in my career. Which is interesting, but that was definitely my favorite one because I think the scene we just like were dancing around for hours, eating cake, drinking the non-alcoholic champagne, which gives you a stomach ache after a while. But we were playing some really good music, and me and Calvin were just dancing the whole time. So it was quite fun. And I was like, I'm in the middle of, I don't know, this, in the back, someone's backyard, the lights. It was just so beautiful. And I was like, it was a lot of fun. And it felt like, okay, I can imagine this is what my wedding might be like whenever that happens, but I'll just make the most of it now.
How is Kelvin Harrison Jr. as a scene partner? Because you had a lot of chemistry on the screen, at least, whether it was love or tension between the two of them.
He's honestly the best. I couldn't have asked for a greater scene partner. He's very giving, very into it. And we got on like a house on fire the first time we ever spoke. So it was very good to know that, okay, the man playing my husband is actually cool. And we've become friends in real life, which is fantastic. And we just we bonded because we were taking on these huge responsibilities, and being a unique experience, we both understood the weight of it. And I guess we were able to hold space for each other and supported each other, and it was honestly a dream. I am a bit spoiled now, and I don't know what's going to happen to me in the next the next person who plays my husband, because I'm going to be like, listen, if you can't be like Kelvin, I don't know what I want. I can't help you.
The last episode of her grieving his death, that was a tearjerker for me. When she's putting some of this, I think she like sniffs a handkerchief or something. What was that scene like for you, channeling, the death of someone that you love more than anyone?
Absolutely heartbreaking. Especially that handkerchief, I think, was supposed to be the one that she gave him the last time she saw him, and she had sprayed it with her perfume. And so it's kind of like the last moments, putting his things together. Oh, I've got goosebumps thinking about it now. It's tough. I mean, putting yourself in a headspace, dangerous, and it makes you kind of reflect. And I did have someone in mind, and it was quite heavy, but I'm lucky enough to be able to tap in and tap out. And not feel the complete weight. And just imagine how hard it was for Coretta, and the fact that she just had to keep going anyways. So I guess, allowing herself to feel it for a bit, but remembering that, she's got to keep going. So that's tough stuff to deal with.
And the way she did keep going for decades, and in that moment, she had to have at least thought for a second, was this worth it?
Most definitely. I'm sure she thought about it. She wouldn't be human if she didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, the legacy he left and what she continued fighting for me, my opinion, yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And these two separate stories are told side by side. finally get to see Coretta meet Betty, the wives. What was that moment for you like? And finally getting to work with Jamie Lawson, who plays her.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jamie had our own friendship. Although we were kept separate, we built a friendship anyways, and that was the one and only scene we got to have together. So it was fun because we were like, by that time we were friends. So we're kind of like, girl, let's just be friends and be older. We in our 50s or whatever. But we understood like the power of the scene because originally it wasn't in the original script. But I think when we got to the time to shoot it, the showrunners proposed it, and we were like, yeah, that's fantastic. We would love that, again, to show the importance and the role that the women played as not just side characters, but equal, equal members in the whole thing. And so when we came to that, I think we had a scene, but we had a discussion about it. Jamie and I spoke about it for a little while, actually, at length. And we were like, right, we don't, we're not sure about this. Let's see if we could work with it. And we spoke to the showrunners, and they allowed us workshop it to where we felt like this is what the interaction might have been like between Betty and Coretta. Because at that point, we'd been them for maybe 5 months. So we were like, we got an idea, and these little things could be done with the look, because these women both shared a unique but shared experience. They're the only people at that time that could have understood where the other woman was and how life was for her. So we knew that that moment of them meeting had to be special, and had to be done well. And the showrunners definitely, and the director, gave us the space to make that a moment for us. So it's definitely a moment.
Well, you've had your own interesting arc in life. I became familiar with you from your BAFTA-nominated performance in I May Destroy You. I loved that show. But so tell me a little bit. Born in Nigeria, correct me if I'm wrong. You moved to the UK as a teenager and then back to Nigeria for theater, and studied sociology. So how does this all prepare you for TV and film? And was TV and film always the goal? Like what was your dream?
To act in wherever way, shape, or form. I've wanted to do everything: TV, film, theater. So I'm living my dreams, actually. The little girl from Nigeria, moving here, going back and forth, and now America's in the plans as well. I am in a great position, and I'm quite very grateful that my life and my career is spanning over 3 continents. Currently, I work in Nigeria when I can, work in the UK, of course, and America. And so I am grateful that this little girl from Nigeria who played with Barbies outside is now living a dream on 3 different continents. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Well, we're going to wrap it up here, but congratulations on this series and your beautiful portrayal of Coretta Scott King. You really did her justice. And thanks for sitting down and discussing Genius MLKX with Gold Derby today.
Thank you so much.